Canal anglais. Test Palais Wilson, ground floor. Merci. Canal anglais le 2.
Good morning. I call to order meeting number 47 of the 78th session of the Committee on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. It is my pleasure to welcome once again this morning the distinguished delegation of the Lao People's Democratic Republic and the head of delegation. I would also like to welcome all those observing the dialogue in person and through webcast. We would like to invite the delegation to continue. You could recall, Your Excellency, that we had posed questions on Cluster 3, but before that, we also had some follow-up questions on Cluster 2. So what we could do is we will first open the floor for colleagues if they wish to pose any additional questions on Cluster 2, and then you have the floor to respond to all three clusters, if that's all right. After that, we will then move on to Cluster 4, where Mr. Aslan Abashidze will pose questions on Cluster 4, and the delegation will have about 30 minutes for that last cluster. To facilitate this process and to enable us to cover the full range of issues at hand, I would like to invite my colleagues and the distinguished delegation to speak in a concise manner, giving due attention to the time allocations. With this, I have the pleasure to open the floor to distinguished colleagues should they wish to pose additional questions under Cluster 2. I see no request for the floor at this stage. Of course, dear colleagues, you can always go back and pose them afterwards. We'll have enough opportunities this morning. Your Excellency, now the floor is yours to respond to, of course, follow questions on Cluster 2, but also question 1. And then you can continue with responding to the questions posed under Cluster 3 as well. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Very good morning to all distinguished members of the committee. I would like to start by thanking all of you for posting questions that are relevant to the work that we have been doing. In order to give the correct and concise responses to the questions raised, I would like to kindly request members of my delegation to respond to the questions raised by the members of the committee. We have already prepared and assigned some of the members to respond based on the work that they have done in the country. We would start with a representative from the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare.
Thank you, Madam Chair and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the following follow-up question and on the section 2 on the right of the work. So the first to respond about the freedom association and collective bargaining. So Lao PDR has adopted amendment labor law in 2030 and clearly defined in Article 60 stated that employees or employers have the right to apply a membership for mass organizations, other social organizations that operate legally within the Lao PDR, and have the right to appoint a representative within the labor unit or workplace. And this is the highlight of certain degree of freedom rights of association. And hence, the right to appoint representative within the labor unit. In addition, Article 164 identifies that agency representing the employees are trade union with the role of participating and the protection of the rights and benefits of employee that working in the labor unit. In addition, the right to collective bargaining in our labor law, the amendment 2013, Article 154, have been mentioned that prohibited work stoppage during dispute. In case where the labor dispute is still in the process of resolution, As stated in Article 148 of the labor law, the employee must continue work as normal, and employers must make a workplace available, except in very serious cases, in event that the tripartite organization agree to work stoppage to avoid damage that may occur. In case labor dispute cannot be resolved, the work stoppage could be initiated, but this must be based on law and regulations. In conclusion, the labor law provides a mechanism to resolve the labor dispute, and it does not explicitly provide the right to strike in the way that international practices, but the government approach is to manage and resolve the labor conflict through this process, which include mediation, arbitration, and resolution by labor dispute resolution committee. And this process is outlined in the law on the labor and decree on the labor dispute resolution, which are designed to prevent strikes and addressing conflicts before they escalate. So this process is more effective and harmonious way to protect the worker interests. This could be disrupt the economy and the social orders. In addition, the law working closely with the International Labour Organization in also ASEAN member state to study on implementation of labor standard into our legislative framework. So this is all for the first one. And the second one, follow-up question regarding to the policy that are taken to strengthen the labor inspection system, and that's including extend the inspection coverage to the informal workplace and also the special economic zones. Regarding to this one, I just updating from the capital that Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare, we have been advancing instrument on the occupational safety and health, and the newly adopted ministerial decision number 289. So it's just adopted on the May 2025 on the labor inspection. In this is ministerial decision could be the strong foundation framework for labor inspection, because this is identify clearly the mandate, the power, and the duties of inspectors. And they also identify the scope of inspection, type of workplace, section, informal or formal sectors, and also identify the procedure and standard to use an enforcement mechanism. So this is some kind of the our legal framework that we based on the legal inspection. So and the second thing about the capacity building program for the labor inspection, we're working closely with ILO, the country program. We have many series of the occupational safety and health topics to be trained. And also, lastly, we have also cooperation and joint inspection in the special economic zone. The Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare have deployed our officer to work with the special economic zone as administration, especially we looking at the registration process and issue the working permits for the migrant workers working in special economic zones. And in top of that, we also providing training on site related to the occupational safety and health, labor management, which comply with the national labor standard and will allow us the systematic inspection in the special economic zone and allow us more, And this is something, and also in the future, the way forward, we're going to have the working on the training for the special economic zone administration on the labor. So that's on, and for labor inspection. And the third follow-up question about the complaint submission, about the channel to complaint submission for the workers. So we have two or three channels for complaint. So this is the first is direct submission, the complaint to the labor inspection. So we have the person Department of in the central we have Ministry of Labor Social Welfare. In the provincial we have Department of Provincial Labor and Social Welfare Office to be receive the complaints. And also the second, we are the trade union or the worker representatives. So the worker may request their union or workplace committee to submit the complaint on their behalf. And the third channel is through hotline or focal points. And the pilot hotlines and complaint boxes have been introduced in certain provinces and including the special economic zones to facilitate easier access, especially the migrant and the informal workers. So the required information in the complaint we have mentioned in our notice from the ministry as well, and we have the confidential and the protection of the complaint persons. We have the confidential handling. Inspectors are required to give the identities of the complainants confidential if requests to avoid retaliation. And you also have the anonymous complaint, but we accept it, but the inspector maybe face limitation in terms of follow-up. And also we have some kind of inspection follow-up procedures. But this is a process of complaint, but nevertheless, if they cannot be resolved in the dispute committee, we can, Ministry of Labor Social Welfare, we can send to the court. That this is the on for the complaint procedures. And then lastly, we're talking about the social insurance. Social insurance is under the national social protection strategy. The government of Lao PDR, we have just adopted the national social protection strategy in year 2020. And we have consists of three main pillars. The first pillar is the healthcare pillar, and the second one is the social insurance, and the third one is social welfare. So we have different function of the three pillars, and the first pillar, I think, the healthcare systems in Lao PDR is significantly achievement. We can reach the population almost 94.5%. So this is a universal healthcare. But nevertheless, as the reporters have been mentioned, that the second pillars on the social securities is covered only 11.8%, mostly from the government officers and some of the enterprises, but still be a small number of enterprises to be in the systems. So this is covered only 11.8%, and approximately about 800,000 people are covered by the system. So we still big number, and I'm going to address further that and how we're going to tackle to increase the coverage of the insurance by the end. But the third pillar is we call social welfare, where we try to have the social safety net for the disadvantaged group of people, the vulnerable group of people. We have the children, women, and persons with disabilities, and also the elderly persons. This is we are trying to include on this group, and we have some kind of program within in this. For example, they have like school meal and also the some poverty reduction activities, microfinance, and also including the disasters victim assistance in this pillar. But nevertheless, let me get back to the how we are going to increase the coverage of the national social security system. In order to expand, the government right now we are working on we have targeting in the next 5-year plan, start from 11.8%, and we looking for it's quite ambitious target, like 50% to cover by the end of 2030s. So this is a really ambitious, but we have discussed the further how to go into increase. So we have simplified. We're going to have simplify employer registration and complaint. In terms of the enterprises, the percentage of enterprises in Laos to be in the social system is only 2 or 3%. So we have still a big portion. So we're going to working with the Ministry of Industrial for licensing of the commerce. And also we're going to have some kind of introducing some kind of incentive or digital tool for SME. So for informal worker, we encourage for voluntary contribution scheme. We try to be affordable and try to be targeted subsidy. And this is something, and the cross-cutting reform is on data integration. The public awareness and partnership with the development partners are also needed. So that's all for my part. Thank you very much.
Please continue if you have further responses to cluster 2 questions.
ขอขอบใจท่านประธาน
Thank you, Madam Chair. My respect to Madam Chair, I would like to share my comments on the sexual harassment that was raised yesterday. Initially, I presented some contents of the law. Regarding this issue, the labor law also stipulates the principle of non-sexual harassment in the workplace in Article 86 and Article 143, which is a fundamental law that to address the issue, especially the labor management departments under the Ministry of Labor Social Welfare has the duty to address the issue. Another point, those who are subject of sexual harassment can lodge a complaint to the People's Court, especially the Trade Committee, to address the sexual harassment issue. So it's about the relevant law in regarding the sexual harassment in the workplace. So the law allows for those who have been subject to sexual harassment to terminate the contract and to claim the compensation from the acts of sexual harassment. Additionally, we also have the law on the gender equality promotion, which is the law, the basic law that promotes to protect the rights of the workers. For the penal code of the law, there is a specific provisions in the penal code. There is no provision on the specific terms of sexual harassment. But it should be on the subject of prosecuted under the other offenses in terms of public exposure on the use of violence against women. Additionally, we also have the National Action Plan to prevent and to protect the use of women against women, which is a basic policy to protect and to prevent the use of sexual harassment in the workplace. There are some cases in relation to the labor dispute. There are 106 cases that were submitted to the committee, but there is no distinction out of 106 cases how many cases are related to the sexual harassment. So therefore, we are going to continue to collect data. Madam Chair, I see that now we have the law to fight against the sexual harassment in the workplace, but we look at the overall pictures. We don't have a comprehensive legal framework, but so it might constitute an obstacle for fighting the claims in civil and criminal against the offender. That's why, in terms of that collection, is not accurate enough. Another point, from the cultural perspective and belief of the people, is one of the reasons why the victims do not want to file the case or do not report to the police. Uh, uh, and especially in terms of the protection and prevention of the secret harassment. So in this regard, we need to continue to put efforts to address and educate and raise awareness on the sexual harassment in the society, including including the revision of the law and especially to prevent any sexual harassment in the workplace, in private, also the public sectors. So the Lao Women Union also work really hard to address the issue. So I may understand that Lao Women also would like to make some comments on this issue. Thank you. So my respect to Madam Chair, I would like to provide additional comments from the Lao Women Union. What we do, we do provide counseling and advice on using hotline or on the spot or using the WhatsApp number. For the over past years, we provide assistance to more than 4,000 victims, and we also provide 15,000 times of counseling service. And there is all the 14 cases of sexual harassment. So I explain to them that from legal point of view, they can find civil service that if they are not, if they are subject to sexual harassment. So after we provide counseling advice to the victims from the 14 cases of sexual harassment, nobody claimed lodged the claims. Additionally, the Lao Women Union also try to put the efforts to raise awareness on legal framework, on the use of the violence against women, and the types of the use of violence to the people and all the citizens to understand on and to be aware of the dangers of the sexual harassment to prevent the use of the violence against women, including sexual harassment at the workplaces. Additionally, we also conduct campaign on this issue in the education institution, at schools, they are high risks, including Latvia is one of countries that have developed a legal framework, especially the standard guideline on SOP, how to provide the assistance to the victim of the use of violence. We provide how to provide psychological, legal, and health support, and in case they are victims of the use of violence. So and how to deal with the matters. That we have not responded yet. Could you please provide a response to the early marriage? So, good morning, everyone. Regarding the health of mother and child, in terms of the early marriage, I think the widespread issue in many countries, not only Laos, especially in the Lapidia, we have the high rates of the early marriage. Therefore, the government of Lapidia in the past has implemented many programs and projects by assigning different ministries to take the responsibility to undertake this, including Ministry of Health, Education, and how to prevent the dropout from school. From the awareness raising campaigns on the early marriage among the young and adolescents, which is illegal. So we try to raise awareness to the young people, to the students, to the people on the ethics of the reproductive health and the impact on impacts of their life. For the implementation of the old measures, it can be resulted in the result of the survey that the early village covers 30%, but up to now we have the numbers of emission amounts to 35%. So in this regard, so the government of Nepal is committed to continuing to protect children from the early marriage by defining the measures, especially into the National Action Plan to prevent and eliminate the early marriage from 2026 to 2030 by focusing firstly on and strengthening the capacity of the staff especially to protect themselves, especially to help for protective health, to have the family planning. To strengthen the capacity of the sectors from the central level, local level, especially performing the duties to protect the children from early marriage. If there is evaluations, the enforcement authority need to perform their duties according to the law. Additionally, we are going to revise, improve the legislation, especially in connection to protection of to prevent early marriage. So these are the measures that we are going to take regarding the prevention of the early marriage. If you have any question to ask about the issue, I will be pleased to answer any questions from the committee. Thank you. I think there is two questions about the use of violence against children. Madam Chair, health sectors again. There is one question that we have not addressed, especially the extension of the social security scheme. For extension of the health security net scheme in the Indian capital, as we know, now the social protection scheme covers 17 provinces. There is only one Indian capital that is not covered by the scheme. If in terms of percentage, it's 94%. It covers 95% of the population. But for the extension to the Vietnam capital, we have the plan. We have the following plan. Firstly, I would like you to understand that the health protection scheme comprises of at the especially parts of the social protection scheme that represented by Mr. of Labor Social Welfare, and also for the private sector. We also have the fund, especially because to provide treatment for women for free of charge. So we still rely on the force scheme. That's why for the extension to the venture capital, we are relying on we have definitely target citizen, especially citizen who are not covered by the other social protection scheme. At the same time, we also calculated the fees for the treatment, and so these are about the main tasks that we are still preparing to implement, and we are going to put in place in the near future, especially for the 10 5-year plan of the government. So there's an additional comment I would like to provide regarding the extension of the security coverage in the Vietnam capital. Thank you. I think there is two questions left that we need to explain. One is the use of the violence, the use of domestic violence against children. So what high measures we have put in place, what law do we have, and the second point is about the assistance provided to the victims of human trafficking. So may I invite the members of the delegation to provide the response to those questions. I would like to provide additional information about the prevention of the use of domestic violence against women and children in the past, especially regarding the rights of children, especially the corporate punishment, especially in the law of the prevention of the use of violence against women. They find the prohibition of the use of violence. We also revised the law on the protection of the interests of the children and women. Particularly, we have incorporated in Article 57 of the revised law, especially the prohibition of parents to use corporate punishment their children. Those measures has been implemented, and we have also disseminated for all sectors of the society to be aware of the prohibition of the corporate punishment, not only of schools, but they consider as an illegal, unlawful acts. It can be punishable by the law. So it's about the measures that the government has taken to protect children from the use of violence, and for the victims of the use of domestic violence, there is a relevant authority that assume the responsibility to protect those victims. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. My warmest regard to the Madam Chair, dear members of the committee. Ladies and gentlemen, for myself, regarding the questions about how we provide assistance to the victims of human trafficking. In the past, with respect to the victims of human trafficking, so they be assisted. For example, we to provide a safe shelter, temporary safe shelter. We also provide food, clothes, and necessary items. We also provide psychological support to the provide legal support to the victims of human trafficking in terms of filing claims or prosecution of the perpetrator of human trafficking. We also provide medical support in case of sickness if they are affected so we provide also medical support. We also provide support for the vocational trainings to be provided to the victim of human trafficking. We also provide assistance to repatriate them back to the family. So in the implementation of those activities, we coordinate between the line ministries with the police authorities, with the Lao Women Union, Union Counseling Center, and other relevant authorities. From January May 2025, so I would like to give an example for you to see. There are 150 victims of human trafficking. They had received counselor advice. 19 under 18 years old. 59 are women. There are 40 victims. They are Lao citizens. And 50% have been repatriated back to the country. And those victims come from 60 come from Vietnam, 17 from Thailand, 8 from China, and 2 from Malaysia. So the center also provides support to the surrogate mothers, especially for illegal surrogacy, because according to the law, the illegal surrogacy is a criminal offense. If the person is considered as a surrogate mother, so they will receive also support. So in the case, we also receive this kind of 26 surrogate mothers, and 2 under 18 years old. 21 are Lao national, 2 Cambodian, and 1 Vietnamese national. So we repatriate them, the victims, back to the families. So we have 29 victims back to the family. So that's our report, how we provide assistance to the victims of human trafficking in the Laopedia. Thank you. I think we have addressed all the questions under cluster 2. There's still some point that that the committee would like to have additional information, especially on the issue that we raised yesterday, starting from the economic issue. So thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to provide additional information regarding the issue and related to the the obligation of the private sector in exercising the human rights. Based on the law on the investment portion, investment promotion of 2024, aiming at attracting high quality investment and to ensure the rights of the collective rights of the investors in order to be for the regional integrations and to contribute to the national social development according to the green growth policy. So the investor has the duty, also the social obligations, also environmental obligations as follow. In terms of economic obligation, they have to pay concession fees, they have to pay royalties, taxes, and fees, charges. And to promote the use of the low labor force, especially female and ethnic labor force, and to put focus on the skill development and transfer the technology to the labor. For social obligation, to apply the social obligations for the workers within the enterprise based on following the law and regulation, and to pay compensation to those has been effective by the business operators, and to promote domestic business, and to elevate poverty in rural areas, and to provide budget for the social development according to the law and regulations. In terms of environmental obligations, they have to fulfill the environmental obligations according to the treaties to which LAPID is a party and relevant international conventions, and to promote the skill development according to green policy, and to provide cooperation to conduct the social impact as social environment impact assessment. Additionally, we also have the law on minerals of 2017 as a measures to manage and monitor the protections and the purchase and the business on mineral and the use of mineral. And to ensure the protections of the health and safety of the workers and the effective communities, and to protect for the environment protections, aiming at developing the mining areas according to the plan, according to the green policy of the government and environment friendly policy, and to create conditions for the economic and to modernize industrial country, and to contribute to social economic development of the country, and to improve people's livelihood. So the law on mineral also manage the safety and the health and environment of the workers, to protect the environment and the society and the natural. We also define the rights and obligations of those who manage the mineral to pay royalties, fees, and other charges according to the law, and to ensure the safety of the workers, and to protect the environment, the natural resources, and heritage sites, and to compensate if in case they have affected the community. In terms of the law of dam safety of 22 aims at minimizing the impacts on people's livelihood, and to contribute to the social economic development of the country according to green growth policy. Before running any project, the investors, together with the relevant authorities, to the village committee as a representative of the villages in the affected area, needs to conduct a social environment impact assessment, especially and to conduct public consultations on those environment impact assessment. Need to be to collect the views from the relevant authorities. So in case of environment issues, there will be independent expert gathering to make the assessment whether the assessment has complied with the standard, and whether this assessment reflect the reality. So, for example, for the resettlement plans, we need to conduct public consultation. If the compensation is not adequate or is not according to the law, so there will be condition to consider issuing the permit. Additionally, the investor need to provide funding to the social environment protection fund, the forest protection plan, and the village funds based on the size and the impacts of the project. One project may make contribution up to $1 million per year. So the public sector use those funds to the protection of the environment and biodiversity, and to protect the white elephant schools, this clean water supply, and to build roads, and to provide employment to the people in the area. So also the village fund also has provide internet coverage. All these are the procedures, steps that have been defined in many laws. So in terms of the implementation, I would like to explain to the committee that to invite the committee to come to the other side to visit the Sepon gold mining production, and also the development, the hydropower development plants in Laos, to see the reality of the country. Thank you. So, in terms of authorizing the CSO, what kind of regulations we have to create conditions for the CSO GSO to operate fully in the Lapidia? So please could you provide any information about the regulation that allows the CSO NGO to operate in the Lapidia?
Recognize the importance of the contribution of INGO to the national socio-economic development and the improvement of livelihood of the Lao population. The decree on INGO, as well as relevant guidelines and implementation manual, all serve to create favorable conditions for INGO to implement their work in the Laopedia. In addition, the Lao government, together with INGO network, regularly conduct consultation process every 3 months to update progress, discuss challenges and emerging challenges. This platform, spearheaded by Ministry of Foreign Affairs, create an opportunity for Lai Ministry and the INGO implementation partner to address ongoing issues and agree on future cooperation framework. The Lao government is currently revising the decree on INGO to better facilitate the implementation of practical work, especially the approval of project activity and emergency assistance, with the aim of further enhancing the efficiency of both Lai Ministry and INGO cooperation project. The decree revision is expected to be complete by the end of this year, 2025. For association and foundation that are directly related to the work of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, namely cooperation between association and foundation, as well as INGO and foreign entities, the Lao government has not limited the acceptance of funds or create any obstacle in this regard. For the approval of any memorandum of understanding, if this organization have submit complete document in accordance with the regulation, the approval process will be considered within 15 working days. Recently, the Laopedia has finished the revision of the decree on association and foundation. I thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen, participants who are attending this review online, offline. So allow me to present some comments, some additional comments regarding the questions, or especially to the measures against the afforestation and the land concession issue, especially for mining concession project. Currently, the law is a process of implementing the national land allocation plan, and Article 12 of the land law that will revise in 2019 clearly stipulate that we need to reach 70% of forest coverage and 30% of the land use for other purposes. So the people provincial authorities also adopt this provincial land allocation plan that define clearly the forest land that should not cover less than 70% of the total forest coverage. So the government has issued decree, 3 decrees. The 1 degree on the protection and production forests and protected areas. In the past, there are some phenomena of encroachments, and also we have issued the concessions in some forests, especially for the mining activities. So in order to achieve the targets of 70% forest coverage, the government issue the 2 notices, number 251 and 627. So the contents of the decree, if so you have to remove all the permits to have a concession activities in the first area. So we allow only a production area, so we need to replant the trees in the forest and to rehabilitate the biodiversity in the forest. Additionally, we convert any convention of types need to receive the approval from the provincial assembly and national assembly according to the law, especially the law on land and forest land. There is a notification from 25 to suspend all the mineral activities and to assign the Central Investment Committee to work together with the Ministry of Agriculture and Industry to reassess all the project that has been approved and received concession in the past. If any project do not fulfill the obligations, so we need to warn them. If there is no progress, so the license will be revoked. At the same time, the project we need to revise how we can charge the concession fees 50-50 and from the mine productions. So we have to share 50-50 between the government and in order to ensure the benefit of the country and also the population. For the Mekong hydropower dams project, I did not respond to this question yesterday. So the Mekong hydropower dams, what we did in the past, we have done. We comply with the 1995 convention for the 5 lower Mekong. In order to run this project, we need to receive the consent of the 5 countries at the lower Mekong basin. We also conduct the risks, conduct the assessment before any bigger project. We need to make the environmental impact assessment, also risk assessment. We also conduct the social environment impact assessment by with the engagement of people who live in the affected area and neighboring area to provide the comments at the village meeting, at the district meetings. So people attend those meetings and with the provincial authorities. We organize many meetings and we seek for the views from the affected people on the social and the environment impact assessment before we approve and allow to run the project. In terms of compensation, we also comply with the law on the resettlement and then vocations, the land law. We also pay compensation according to the land law before running the project. Currently, in Luang Prabang province, we have 12 villages that have been affected by the project, including 23 villages that have been affected by the project. These include 2 provinces, South Luang Prabang and Udom Sai province, that have been affected by the project. There is one village that we have where we have completed the compensation. We have rebuilt houses. We have resettled the villages. For the rest, we are still in the process of constructing new houses for the affected villages, and we also resettled lands for the productions, for the livelihood, especially in your village. We constructed. We construct new temples, new villages, which are really nice. We have built new school, new hospital, because in the past that village did not have any village or the hospital. Now we have new schools, houses. We have new village authorities administrative office. We have rebuilt a cemetery, a new museum, because for the ethnic villages. We also built asphalt roads and to decrease the road safety, and we resettle the agricultural land. We built underwater ground wells, and to especially will provide access to electricity for the affected people by complying with the international standard, especially in terms of the international and national environment impact assessment standard. So roughly it's about what we did in terms of the compensation we paid to the affected people by the mega project in Lapidia. Thank you. Yesterday, the members of the committee raised the question about ethnic groups in Lapidia, because the ethnic groups is related to the history, the culture, and traditions, and the scientific evidence. So I think many of you may have may have not had the chance to go on the site. So I would like to take the opportunity to invite the members of the committee and I would like to invite the members of the delegation to provide additional explanation on this issue. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to provide additional comments on the issue. So I would like to provide additional comments about the terms of indigenous people. Dear members of the committee, Based on the result of the scientific research, based on the evidence has been documented, we can show that on the territory of the Lapidia, we have many ethnic groups living in harmony, including the Lao Tai ethnic group, the Khmer, Kamu ethnic group. Additionally, when we established the first kingdom of the Lao, of the million elephant in early 13th century, those ethnic groups live in harmony. So they live together in harmony. There is no fighting among the ethnic group. There is no fighting among the ethnic groups. So if you want to know about more history, if you want to know more about the history, so have been occupied by the foreign occupants, especially from neighboring countries. So they divided the solidarity among the ethnic group. Nevertheless, the five ethnic group are unified to fight against the foreign aggressor until we proclaim the Lapidia. And the five ethnic groups are the measure of the countries. So based on the comment we have received, if you look at the history, we can see because the growth of the ethnic group might be different from other countries, especially in the Northern American continent, for example, or on the islands or the southern continents were different. History of the growth of the ethnic group. These are the additional comments I would like to provide to the committee regarding the ethnic groups in Lapidia.
Comprehensive response, not just to the questions posed under cluster 2 and 3, but on others that were still left unanswered. So really appreciate the response. The floor is now open for taking follow-up questions on cluster 3. And I recognize Mr. Palmaseno, Ms. Lee, Mr. Winfer, and Mr. Nonthasoot, and Ms. Chen as well. So start with Mr. Palmasano. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I do have some more questions. I will start with family protection and right to marriage. The Civil Code does not recognize any de facto relationship between a man and a woman unless they are married and have a registered marriage certificate. There is only a memorandum stating that in the event of legal proceedings being initiated, the competent court may consider the registration of a family book or publicly recognized and consistent cohabitation as evidence of a marital relationship. Could the delegation clarify whether legislative or other measures have been or are going to be adopted to ensure the recognition of de facto marital relationships and to increase awareness of the importance of marriage registration? The aim would particularly be to improve protection for vulnerable groups such as women from rural areas and ethnic minorities. My second question concerns the protection of children in conflict or post-conflict areas. Could you please clarify whether any actions have been taken or are ongoing to clear conflict areas of landmines? Are there also rehabilitation services for children affected by explosive remnants of war? And in your previous answer, you focused on the assistance of children victims of trafficking. Could you now elaborate on assistance and support to children victims of sexual exploitation? And I would now like to address the issue of large-scale industrial infrastructure projects from the perspective of poverty alleviation and the right to an adequate standard of living. With regard to such projects, you have already recognized that they produce significant disadvantages for the people affected by them. So my question is, are there any plans in place to ensure that the specific economic benefits of these large-scale projects and activities extend beyond foreign investors and companies and improve the economic well-being of Lao people involved? The third question still relates to the right to an adequate living. Unfortunately, we are all experienced the effects of climate change and global warming, which has led to an increase in natural disasters. Your country is particularly vulnerable to this phenomena. Could you therefore provide information on measures that have been or are going to be adopted to support farmers and pastoralists who are particularly affected by this phenomenon, as well as disaster-displaced communities? These are my questions.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Lee?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, distinguished members of the delegation, for all the information you provided so far. I really listened carefully, and I know that you explained the National Social Protection Strategy 2020. So I understand that you have 3 pillars. So healthcare, you are trying to extend the coverage. And second pillar, the social insurance, you're trying to, because now the coverage is limited, so you're trying to extend that very limited coverage of social insurance. And the third pillar is the social welfare. I think that is related to non-contributory social security schemes. So in this regard, I would like to encourage you to take into account the committee's statement on the social protection floor when you design and also improve that particular pillar, social welfare pillar. So in particular, I would like to stress that the national social protection floors should aim at guaranteeing income security and access to basic services, paying particular attention to the most vulnerable and disadvantaged groups, including the low income households and also the informal workers and people living in rural and remote areas as well. And secondly, regarding the healthcare coverage, I'm pleased to listen that you are trying to expand the health coverage with the aim of a universal health coverage. But I just note that the World Bank data indicates that the public spending on health in the state party remains low compared with the regional and similar income groups. And it indicates that the high out-of-pocket payments at the point of care continue to impose a heavy burden on low-income households. And these financial barriers is likely contribute to delays or non-use of essential maternal and child health services. So I would like to hear the state parties' measures to increase the public health financing and reduce out-of-pocket payments. And in relation to the right to health, also note that the neonatal and under 5 mortality in the state party are higher than regional groups. So I believe that the state party is aware of that. And so what are the state parties' specific and budgetary measures to reverse this trend and protect the most vulnerable children? And I just also like to ask a quick clarification. I heard with the positive note that you are undertaking the human rights and environmental impact assessment when you undertake a mega project. So I just want to hear that whether we can also have access to those the outcomes of human rights and environmental impact assessment of each mega project for instance, online. And last clarification I would like to have is regarding my last follow-up question. I addressed that we get information that the Hmong people, particular, they have difficulties in having the identification document, and which places barriers, administrative barriers to access to any kind of public services and social benefits. So I would like to hear that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Mr. Winfer.
Thanks, Chair. And because I take for the first time the floor, welcome to the delegation from my side also. I have two questions, and the first relates to the right to adequate food. You are reporting in your state report that the number of stunting children has reduced from 42%, a very high level, to 33% between 2010 and 2017. But since then, the percentage is 33%. It's one of the highest in the whole region, and it's extremely alarming to a certain degree. I just checked the latest figures from FAO and UNICEF, so you are stable on 33. At the same time, so the chronic hunger figures, the actual hunger figures has even increased in the last years from 7 to 11%. So my question is why there are more children hungry in rural areas, and these are both very high levels of these figures. So I would like to know what you are trying to really reduce this. My second question relates to forced evictions. You were already, thanks for that, explaining to us how you deal with resettlement, if there are large
en la zona económica especial del Triángulo de Oro y en particular prevenir y enjuiciar los casos de trata.
What special measures are you taking to prevent trafficking and to prosecute those responsible for trafficking, as well as to provide rehabilitation measures for victims of trafficking? I'd welcome more detail about trials and rates of conviction of traffickers in Lao PDR. How many of you successfully prosecuted and convicted? More information along those lines would be welcome. Turning now to the issue of violence against women and girls, and you provided us some information on your efforts in this area. We have received information that violence against women and girls is quite a widespread phenomenon in the state party, and so I would like to ask whether you have sufficient refuges and shelters and support services for women and girls who are victims of violence. And also like to ask you a question as to how much financing or funding you allocate to combating violence against women and girls, including shelters and refuges. There there is the possibility of interim orders to ensure that violent members of a family can be expelled from the family home, but I'd welcome more information about this legal tool in Lao PDR. Now, on LGBTQIA persons, we understand that Article 51 of the Civil Code explicitly prohibits same-sex marriage. So these persons do not enjoy equal rights. This holds true in areas such as property ownership, joint bank accounts, etc., and inheritance rights. These are denied to same-sex couples. So I'd like to ask, do you intend to change your legislation, including Article 51 of the Civil Code, which I think needs to be done, given that it is a
En los párrafos.
in paragraph 82 to 87 inclusive of your report, the state party details various strategies that's enacted to eradicate poverty, but it's not clear to us whether your poverty eradication strategy is purely focused on boosting income, or do you enact other poverty reduction or poverty eradication measures, not just focused on money? Do you, for example, measure poverty on a multidimensional basis, not just in terms of income? And if you do so, could I ask whether the indicators that you use are in line with the United Nations Multidimensional Poverty Index? Do you use the same indicators? I would also ask how you use your poverty measurement indicators to feed into evidence-based policy setting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You've been asked many questions, Your Excellency. But we are running behind time. So maybe if you could kindly take 15 minutes. And if you have questions left over, they can be handled afterwards, time permitting. Because I thought at 11:45, we could request Mr. Aslan Abashidze to share his questions on cluster 4. And then we'll take a 5-minute break for you to organize your work. So in 15 minutes, if you could kindly complete this set of questions, and then we'll proceed further. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So it will be difficult to respond to 24 questions in 40 minutes. It will be impossible mission. but we try our best to respond to clarify on, especially regarding the question that were not responded yet. Because one raised the issue as about ethnic group. So perhaps I would like to invite Mr. Nalongit from Mr. Justice to explain more why because why you raise the issue about this particular ethnic group, because we have 50 ethnic group, and all ethnic groups have been guaranteed their rights without any distinction and the discrimination. Perhaps Knowledge Lead may have some information to provide to the committee. So thank you, Madam Chair. As I mentioned, try to explain to the committee and to Madam Chair to the committee we do not distinct different in the group. I'm still surprised that the data we have raised, we have exchanged the data you receive. I'm not sure what are the source of the data, what is, and myself. Actually, it's not only ethnic groups. The other groups, as mentioned by Madam Chair or Ms. Chair, the equal rights in all aspects. In the past, the former Mr. Justice also come from ethnic group. The Vice Minister of Justice also came from, and there are two Vice Ministers that came from ethnic group. The current by Mr. Justice also from is from an Hmong group. So we do not obstruct any group from accessing to the high position in the government. So I would like to inform the committee regarding the questions about why the ethnic group do not receive any social security because they don't have any ID paper. I discussed internally with my colleagues. I also I asked my colleagues to provide information about from the capital. There's no such issue in Laos because our system, everyone needs to be certified by the village authorities that this person lives in that village and was born in the village, so they can engage to any system. They can engage to any social security system. So it's quite interesting that you raised this question about this ethnic group. I also would like to know so allow me to take some time to explain because there are some members of the committee has raised about the family issues. With the permission of the chair, I would like to take on the issues that were raised by the committee members. I'm not a specialist in the culture of the ethnic group. All the ethnic groups in the country, some allowed to have many wives, but we prohibit because to protect the woman, the rights of women. Now the civil code, especially Article 152, defines that the polygamy and family relationships will be recognized only when they have a certificate. So because we encourage the monogamy, we prohibit the polygamy. So we do not allow some any group to have many wives or to practice the polygamy. And the second point is to protect and prevent the child marriage because Article 152 clearly defines that people with reaching the majority will be allowed to get married. So we need to refer this as a basic or the foundation to address the issue. So thank you for raising the question. Myself, I'm one of the drafting members of the Civil Code. So this is about the thing between the legal practitioners that refer to the legal principle, and some business people sometimes there might be different perspective from the legal point of view. So I would like you to understand, Madam Chair and all the committee members, even though they are not, even though they don't have a marriage certificate, they will enjoy the protection. Women living in real enjoy the protection if they have the condition to live together as a husband and wife. So we recognize marital status. So in the past, the Supreme Court of the Lapidia also have the jurisprudence in considering the family relationship. It doesn't mean that the kids they were born from the unregistered married people, because we give priority to the kids or the students, no matter they have formally or informally married. So we provide protection to the kids. We do not refer to the article to prevent not to provide protection to the kids. So if you still have questions to ask, we'll be pleased to answer any questions. So I would like to spend some time to clarify on this issue. Thank you. Thank you. There is some cluster of questions regarding the children and which are victims of human trafficking and victims of sexual abuse and post-conflict, or they are victims of the ICESCR. And also there was question raised about the children suffering from malnutrition. Perhaps I would like to invite the representative from the National Committee for Environment of Women to provide the response to this issue. How you provide the victims to those, how you provide assistance to those victims? So my respect to the two co-chairs. So I would like to provide additional explanation how to provide assistance to the victims of human trafficking or sexual abuse, especially if they are victims of human trafficking. In terms of assistance, this morning I also explained already. For the case or for the measures to provide assistance to the victims, we comply with the law on the prevention and on the use of domestic violence, and also on the human trafficking law, especially the article pertaining to provide assistance, to provide safe temporary shelter to the victims, to provide psychological, medical, legal support and to the victims, it also include the vocational support and the repatriation to the home country. So we use the victim center principle. So the victim we identify first if they are victims of human trafficking, if they have health components and of the human trafficking, they will be certified by the police authority. And after they have been identified, so the police officer will refer the case to the Vietnam Women Union to provide psychological, medical, and legal support. So in the past, my counseling center, as mentioned previously, we have received many cases as children. Now we have the number. For the human trafficking, you have more than there are 300 victims of human trafficking to whom we provide support and assistance. And if they go to the justice project, we act as a legal representative for the court proceeding. It's supposed to seek for compensation, to seek for civil compensation, and additionally for other measures, we focus on the protections the victims by raising awareness for people to be aware of their rights. And if they are victims of human trafficking, they have the right to lodge civic claims from the relevant authorities. And we also provide information and raise awareness on the form of human trafficking, what are the impacts, what are the dangers of human trafficking, for them to be aware of their rights, and if they are at risk of becoming victims of human trafficking, or they can from which entity they can seek support from. So the government of Lao PDR also allocate budget to the implementations of the national human trafficking plans. We have established the specific committee dealing with the human trafficking from the central down to provincial, district, and village level. At the central level, we have the Deputy Prime Minister, which had the National Committee, with participation of the Land Ministry, and we also pay attention to strengthen the capacity of the official at all level, all sectors, on the for the victim identifications, on referrals mechanism at the central and local level. We also cooperate and in bilateral framework between Laos, Thailand, Laos, China. We also have tripartite agreement between Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, and also we have within the ASEAN framework, and also all the regional framework. So the budget allocated to the for the anti-human trafficking activities. So the government pays attention by providing the budget to these sectors, to the line ministry, to carry out the activities according to the mandate. Additionally, as we know, because we have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and we also are facing some financial difficulties. As a result, we have not provide sufficient budget to the sector, but we have cooperated with the international organizations in providing financial support to tackle this issue. Thank you. We have 2 minutes left. Perhaps I would really like to give the floor to the Minister of Health while we still have a high number of standing children and how we address the issue. So thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I would like to seek for the permission to respond to the questions about the nutrition. For the nutrition issue, of malnutrition issue, the reason is and they have food, but they do not technically how to cook the food. But so we need, and in remote rural areas, we do not provide sufficient food to the people. They also face some health problem, especially parasite. They might be the one of reasons why the children under 5 may not get access to clean water supply. So how to address those issues in the future, especially for the standing children under 5 years? So it's a very big long-term effect that we need to address, especially for the standing children. We cannot address the issue within 1 month. It should require the long-term efforts. So in the future, so the relevant sectors will pay attention to what to improve the food security by encouraging people to have the area to have area to stock their food. For the health sector itself, we need to increase the iodine by to promote the consume iodine in the household level, because it will be one factor that can boost the growth and to address the stunting effects of the children. We need to provide nutrition information to the household to change the behavior. In other words, when they have food, they need to know the techniques how to cook for the food. Additionally, we improve or revise the National Action Plan on Nutrition. Now, in the 5-year plan, in the 10th 5-year plan, for the components of nutrition, we need to provide a strategy to be consistent with reality and to support the 10 SDP and to achieve the targets on nutrition. For the reduction of the mortality rate, we based on the report of the LAPDR, the mortality rate has decreased, but if you compare with region, it's still high. So all the measures and projects to reduce the mortality rates in the country, we will start from women that were not pregnant. So to have the better family planning, to encourage to get access to the better planning, family planning, and to have the proper pregnancy period. And for the pregnant women, so we promote them to give birth in a safe space. After they give birth, we provide them with vaccinations. And I think this is one of the successful projects for the newborns and especially to reduce the mortality rate among the mothers, and also how to address the stunning children under 5. Thank you.
Your Excellency, we'll now we'll pose questions to you under cluster 4 and then take a 5-minute break. You can organize your work and, of course, in the subsequent time, respond to the balanced questions as well as, of course, to answers to questions. Mr. Abashidze, can I request you to kindly pose questions under Articles 13, 14, and 15? Please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Since this is my first time taking the floor, allow me to join the Chair and my colleagues from the clusters and confirming our readiness to begin and then conclude our dialogue in the constructive manner. From this perspective, permit me to raise questions for the further clarification concerning Article 13, 14, and 15 of the Covenant, which cover the right to education and cultural rights. The questions that arise and that I intend to put to you have been formulated on the basis of the analysis of your report, the written replies to the committee's additional questions and other sources. There is no doubt that we will receive answers to them since your delegation includes representatives of the Ministry of Education, Sport and Culture. These questions take into account the country's financial difficulties, strictly within the context of the Covenant's provision set out in Article 2, Paragraph 1, which states that each state party to the present Covenant undertakes to take steps individually and through international assistance and cooperation, especially economic and technical, to the maximum of its available resources with a view to achieving progressively the full realization of the rights recognized in the present Covenant by all appropriate means, including legislative. My first question concerns statistics. Could you provide official information on how many school children were supposed to enter primary school and how many, in fact, did not begin their studies in the current academic year? What does this look like in percentage terms? What are the reasons for the high level of school non-attendance or dropout? Could you list the main ones and also indicate what measures are being taken by the government to address them and what results have been achieved? These questions are directly related to the implementation of the Educational Sector Development Plan 21-25. As far as I am aware, the implementation of this plan is closely linked to improving literacy rates, school attendance, and school completion. I would like to highlight separately the problem of the shortage of teachers. One of the reasons for which is low salaries and in some cases even the non-payment of salaries for intended periods. To what extent has this problem been recognized by the government, and what is being done to resolve it, including the disbursement of salaries of the local level from funds allocated by the central government? On the other important conditions for the of education, we know that it is the educational infrastructure at all level. From kindergarten, primary, secondary school to college and higher education. And we know that overwhelming majority of this infrastructure must be located in rural areas where 2/3 of the country's population lives. Could you provide information or budgetary funding for educational infrastructure on the scale of construction of school buildings and on assuring their access to water, sanitation, electricity, and the internet. The latter about internet later being especially important in circumstances such as the COVID-19 pandemic happened. In connection with these, some educational institutions that lacked the capacity to provide distance learning were closed. My question is, what measures were taken with regard to such children in order to make up for the classes they missed under the curriculum? Access to the internet is a general problem. However, it particularly affects children from poor families, many of which are also large families. Is there a separate program for marginalized children? I am aware that corporal punishment of pupils has already been prohibited. Yet in practice, it still occurs. And what control mechanisms exist within the educational system to prevent and eliminate such practice, if it is? The country is multi-ethnic with some 50 groups. It takes pride in its ethnic diversity, which is recognized in the Constitution and in the state policy. How is this reflected in the use of languages of ethnic groups in education? To what extent does the national education system meet the needs of these ethnic groups at the primary and secondary levels and at the level of higher education? In the education system, there are boarding schools for minorities, a practice that is not unique to your country. Such a practice has been criticized by UNICEF, and could you confirm whether such schools exist, and if so, what arguments are made in favor of maintaining such schools? Are there so-called informal fees in schools? And how are they being addressed? What concrete measures are being taken against such so-called informal fees in the school? To what extent are private schools developed in the country? What is the level of demand for them, and do they meet the minimum state standards in education? I mean private schools. Could you provide information on this? The following questions concern cultural rights. The government pays attention to preserving and promoting the cultures and traditions of all groups, as well as cultural sites and national heritage. In particular, this includes the building of model cultural villages. Many households have been awarded the status of cultural villages. And we are aware also of the existence of children's cultural centers. My question is, does having this status or being located in some center provide any benefits, including funding from the state? There is a problem of radio and television coverage across the entire country, especially in rural and remote areas. What concrete measures is the government taking to ensure access to radio and television in these areas, particularly in territories inhabited ethnic groups, such to provide programs in their native languages? Does the state budget include a special allocation the financing the cultural lives of ethnic groups, and how in practice are cultural sites belonging to the ethnic groups protected? In point one of your replies to our question, you wrote that, I quote, that rights enshrined in the covenant are integrated into the national educational system from primary to higher school. And I would like ask you explain in detail how exactly this is being done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. With this, we come to the close of our cluster 4 questions. We'll take a 5-minute break and then resume. Your Excellency, may I now request your distinguished delegation and you to kindly respond to the questions that were posed by Mr. Abashidze under Articles 13, 14, and 15. You have the floor, sir.
มีคำถามเกี่ยวข้องกับ
There are questions related to the education sector, cultural sectors of I'd like to request representative from the Ministry of Education, Sport, and our Women Union and other relevant authorities to provide clarifications regarding the question asked by the committee. So we have 20 minutes. My warmest regard to Madam Chair. Regarding the question regarding the education in La PDR, so over the past years, the budget allocated by the government in education sectors, its average is about 10 to 13% per year, for 10 or 10% of the GDP per year. So the government attaches importance to the sector of education. Regarding the measures that have been taken to address the issue of the teacher shortage, overall, we have the plan to implement by following the measures to address the shortage of teachers, number 09 of July 2023. We firstly we have we agree to extend the times to the retiring teachers, and if they want to continue to provide teaching. So in other words, the retired teachers can come back to teachings by providing allowance incentive to the teachers. So we agree that the prior teachers, when they move to the sectors, so after retirement age, they can come back to become teachers by providing allowance and salary. In the last position, they have before they had before retiring. The third policy, so we agree to provide allowance to the teachers based on the qualification and grades of the teachers, and to provide policy or incentive to the civil servants who would like to teach. We also agree to convert the citizen to use the citizen to teach at in some area, and we also agree to use the other sectors as military officer to provide teaching by providing the same allowance as a normal teacher. These are the measures that were taken by the government to address the shortage of the teachers in the PDR. Regarding the issue of the dropout rate, the government has a policy to provide large box to the students, to the people, by mobilizing the funding from the government, and also the funding mobilized from the international organizations, INGO, CSO, that contribute in terms of budget to the education sector. We also agree the people to finish the college after they drop. If they want to go back to the school, so they can are allowed to come back to the college if they want to continue. We we also mobilize the private sectors. They are engaged in building colleges or professional college to contribute to address the issues of global bread. I think that's all for me. Oh, sorry. With respect to the questions about the use of ethnic languages at school, so the government of Lapidia, especially the Ministry of Education and Sport, has a national curriculum, which is the national curriculum, but 80% as a national curriculum. For the remaining 20% is the ethnic curriculum, so they has been incorporated into national curriculum. The purpose of having this curriculum is to allow the ethnic group to receive the education in the ethnic languages. So 20% of the national curriculum are taught in the ethnic languages. In terms of access to internet, so it's a link to many relevant sectors in terms of access to education. Basically, it's so basically is because the signal of the internet is linked to the internet signal. Of course, in terms of promotion of the internet, we try to promote the internet coverage. But the specific of the Lapidia, we are mountainous area, which is different from other countries. We have covered by many mountainous areas, so it's quite difficult sometimes to receive the internet signal. It's quite impossible to reach the mountainous area. Some areas are not they don't have the internet signal. So but we try to our best to increase the internet coverage. For the question is raised by the committee on the policy for school fees. So from 2010 up to now, the Ministry of Education and Sport has a policy to not to charge any school fee from the pupils, especially for the compulsory education system. For the compulsory education system, start from primary school and up to secondary and the upper secondary school, we do not charge any fees from the school to encourage people to go to school. Regarding the private school, for the curriculum of the private school, we closely manage the curriculum of the private school, because before they open the private school or before they establish this private school, they need to be assessed by Ministry of Education and Sport and to meet the standard. The Ministry of Education and Sport, after they open the school, we monitor and manage the private school, whether they comply with the mechanism or regulations of the Ministry of Education and Sport. So we have the periodic monitoring and mechanism for the private school. Another questions, especially during COVID-19 pandemic, in terms of implementation of the education during COVID pandemic. So the government of the Lapidia, particularly the Ministry of Education and Sport, has put a lot of measures to during that period, in order to because the COVID-19 pandemic happens. Especially not only Laos, but in many countries in Laos. So the Laos has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Education and Sport took measures to implement the education through the online platform, online education platform for those who do not have conditions. So expand the time for them to have after the COVID-19 stopped, so they can catch up with the curriculum. During that period, we still implement the hygiene measures by respecting a distance between the students, and so these are the measures that we took in place during the COVID-19 pandemic. And after we changed, and the Ministry of Education and Sport has issued and took measures in order to prevent from any impact that might be during the COVID-19 pandemic. For the poor family or the big families, the government of the Lao PDR has a budget to provide a scholarship or allowance to allow him to get access to the school, because in the law on education, it is clearly stipulated that all citizens have the right to get access to education. So there is no distinction on the basis of the ethnicity. So we promote the ethnicity to get access to education. We provide them allowance, and we also built ethnic boarding schools to allow them to get access to allow them to have equal access to education. So it's about the answer. These are the response I would like to provide to the committee. If the committee still have any questions to ask me that I have not responded, please feel free to ask any question if you have. Thank you. I think there are questions about they have not responded yet. So good morning, everyone. So good afternoon, sorry. I would like to exchange my views on the exercise of the rest of the group. So I took note of the questions. There are 3 points. The first one is about of the culture village and also the children's culture center, and get access to radio and television programs in remote area. And the third one, the preservation of the ethnic culture. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to the committee members to recognize for recognizing the efforts of the government to promote and protection of the ethnic culture. For the government of it has a policy to promote, to develop the culture villages. In our report, we clearly mentioned that we effectively realized this development of culture rights. The benefit that people can get from, there are many benefits because the government see the importance of this culture village. That's why we have the plan to develop this culture village. So the main benefit we can get from this culture village is to promote and to continue to transmit the fine traditions of the community ethnic groups, for them to transmit the fine tradition from generation to generation. So this village culture will be able to provide to preserve the fine tradition. The second benefit they can get from is to ensure the unity within the village. And the third benefit that we can get from the culture villages, it is to bring about benefit to the village themselves. What I'm saying that because the culture village, before they be awarded a culture village, then they need to meet criteria, activities after they have been awarded. The first one, within the village, they create a group of producers, a group of the artistic performances. These attract the tourists to come to the villages, domestic and foreign, to see and to exchange and to observe, and can generate income for the villages, which is another benefit that we can get from the cultural village. For the government side, of course, we promote. It's not about providing direct budget, but it's indirect budget because including the Lao Women Union or youth, so they were involved, engaged in development of the cultural villages. so they might get the indirect benefit for the promotion and development of the cultural villages. For the Children's Cultural Center, it is the promotion of the rights of the children and the adolescents, because those centers make a significant contribution because they provide platform for the children, adolescents, and young people to express the views, especially children coming from different ethnic groups. So they have the chance to exchange the views and to export the cultural performance. So it will help them to build the confidence and trust, and most importantly, it use the free time to maximize the free time for the students to do useful things, because after they finish school, if they don't have anything, they don't have activities, so they may be involved in drugs abuse. So the children's culture is one of the ways how they can learn the traditions and culture. In addition to developing young people, so those centers are also involved in disseminating the culture to other ethnic groups, because we promotion to establish the groups of performances, and so by giving the artistic performance, so it can help to generate some income. Regarding the questions about the access to radio and TV programs, in this regard, the government has taken, especially for the remote area, the telecommunication network, including radio and television programs, and in addition to having the TV and the radio programs, we also have the loudspeaker system in all villages that can use to provide the information to people, especially those who are living in remote areas. So this loudspeaker system can help to provide the information to those people. Now the government of the Lapita has a policy to digitalize all the channel. So if we create it's about creating a channel to get access to information. So based on the information that I have in my hands, in terms of percentage of the mobile telephone coverage, now we have 6.5 or 88% of the population can get into the mobile network. Additionally, the internet coverage stand for we have 4.7 million people can access to internet connection, or covering more than 70% of the total population. So it's about what I would like to clarify regarding this question asked by the committee members. Thank you. So good afternoon. So I would like to clarify to the meeting on the establishment of the human rights institution. As I mentioned, previously, the Lapida doesn't have the plan to establish the national human rights institution in accordance to Paris principle, because it affects the budget and human resource, and it will be duplicated with the existing mechanism, because the existing mechanism comply with the reality of the Lapida. But Lapida will continue to exchange the views, the good practices that have established the national human rights institutions according to the Paris principle. And for those who don't have any mechanism, actually different countries have different mechanism, but for the Lapida, we focus on strengthening the existing mechanism. But even though those mechanisms has been established by the government, but we need to comply with the regulation and laws. In terms of ratification of the protocols, Lapida has put a lot of in studying the contents of those treaties, but it's not ready to ratify those conventions yet, because we need to improve our domestic law. maybe in the near future we may join or ratify this convention. The last point for the ratification of the Convention on the Forced Disappearance that we signed in 2008, the same thing. So we continue to explore, to study the context of the conventions, because we have become because when we become members of the 7 human rights conventions, we have difficulties in terms of fulfilling the reporting obligations, because it took a lot of time. It took 10 times to fulfill our reporting obligations. And the last point I would like to inform the committee, I would reaffirm again that the LAPDR consists of 50 ethnic group, and they all enjoy equal rights, and all ethnic group enjoy the same rights without discrimination. There's no ethnic group that considered as indigenous people. So I would like to reaffirm again to the committee this point. Thank you.
Distinguished delegation. The floor is now open for follow-up questions. Ms. Lee, I recognize Ms. Lee. Mr. Lezari Bouzid. Ms. Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, distinguished members of the delegation, for your constructive engagement with us. I would like to ask a follow-up questions under Cluster 4 on the right to education, and also on the right to participate in cultural practices. So first, we note the state parties' efforts to address the shortage of teachers. However, we understand that the persistently low teacher salaries are part of root causes of teacher shortages, teacher absenteeism, and related corrupt practices, undermining the availability, quality, and non-discriminatory delivery of education. So we would like to hear the state parties' measures to address the low pay for teachers as a root causes of teacher shortages and informal illicit payments in schools. And related question, in part of responses to the shortages of teachers, we just heard that the state party explained that the military personnel are deployed as a substitute to teachers. But we are concerned that it may risk undermining the civilian and neutral character the education is supposed to be, and have negative impacts on the quality of education. So I would like to hear the comments from the state party on this concern. And my last question is on the model cultural families and model villages. We heard from the state party that it is for sustaining cultural practices by providing recognition and financial support. And we know that, but we are concerned that without clear safeguards, this program might disadvantage some ethnic, linguistic, or religious communities by rewarding conformity to particular cultural norms. So could the state party please indicate what clear safeguards are in place to ensure that its model cultural family and model village certification schemes do not unduly influence ethnic, linguistic, or religious minorities to abandon or alter their cultural practices? Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Mr. Bouzid, followed by Mr. Fiorio and then Ms. Rossi. Mr. Bouzid.
Thanks, Madam Chair. My warm welcome to the delegation, since I take the floor for the first time. My question is about in paragraph 149, you say that the state promotes access to higher education through affording scholarships to the excellent students. My question is about what about other students? Do they have to pay fees? And what is the amount of this of the fees and so on? And also I want some details about universities, how many universities you have in the country, and also the number of students and teachers. And do you send also Laotian students to study abroad? And can we have the direction where they study exactly abroad? Thank you.
Mr. Furio.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much indeed. Following up on some of the questions made by my colleague, Ms. Lee, could you tell us about the teacher salaries in your country, especially could you tell us if they're competitive and how do they compare with the minimum wage or the average wage in the country? Also, do you have a career plan for teachers? And could you tell us if teachers work on a ad honorem basis? Now, in terms of school syllabuses and the content of what is being taught, how are parents involved in the design of syllabuses or programs of studies for students? And what measures do you take to ensure that students have access to comprehensive education based on scientific evidence in a number of areas, namely history, sexual education, and mathematics? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Furio and Ms. Rossi.
President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like my colleague who's just taken the floor, could you give us information about programs existing in schools or in other areas, namely what you do for sexual and reproductive health and education, especially in remote areas? And under cluster 3, could you give us information about the current regulation of abortion and voluntary interruption of pregnancy? Do you have updated figures on maternal mortality and the causes for maternal mortality? Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, you have the floor, distinguished delegation. 10 minutes. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, just Mr. Furio, you wanted to, yeah, very quickly, please, sir.
Muchas gracias.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Apologies. I missed a question I had in my notes. When you have cases that are, so going back to us, we have some, we understand that there is a diversity of ethnic groups in the country. In practice, however, we have heard that several of these groups self-identify or as indigenous peoples, especially the Khmu-Khumongs, the Aka, the Lahu, the Yaomien, and others of the Mon Khmer and Tibetan groups. Apologies for my pronunciation. The interpreter apologizes. Also, it might not be the most accurate, but could you give us more information about these groups that might be deemed to be indigenous, either self-identifying as indigenous or being deemed to be indigenous by society? Could you, once again, apologies for having taken the floor once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Furio. 10 minutes, Your Excellency.
So may I invite the representative from Ministry of Education and Sport on the issue of shortage of teachers? What the reason of the shortage of the teachers, and how to pay the salary to teachers? Is it correct that we use the merit other officials or the sector to help in terms of the system of payment? So please provide more clarifications on the payments of salary to the teachers, and how to grant the scholarship to the excellent teachers. What about the others? How many universities do we have in the country? And yeah, and so on. So thank you for the questions. With respect to the issue of the teacher shortage, so currently the Ministry of Education and Sport work together with the Ministry of Defense by using military staff, some military staff to teach. This is to apply, to implement the education development plan of the government by using the staff, the military staff to teach. But before they go to to teach the Ministry of Education and Sport provide training on the teaching skill. It's not to deploy them directly, so we need to provide them training on the teaching skill. So those training is part of the program that we implement. Is a kind of pilot project for 1 year only, and the teachings is only the primary school in remote areas, which is difficult to get access to. So that's why we cooperate with the Ministry of Defense to deploy military force to help us in teaching in a remote area. In terms of the number of university or the higher education institution in LAPDR, so the university, we have 5 universities in Laos, and that are under the responsibility of the Ministry of Education and Sport. For the education institutions of the LAPDR, cooperate within some international organizations and neighboring countries to exchange the experience, the technical issues with foreign education institutions. We also signed MOU with many countries that from the neighboring countries, and the foreign education institutions also receive this allow students to undertake their study in the country with whom we have the MOU to accept the allow students to undertake their study. In domestically, we also open and receive the student to undertake their study based on the measure they choose. So the country to which we send the students, they include Russia, Hungary, China, so Vietnam, Thailand. We have many countries to which with whom we have signed an MOU, and we send our students to those countries. Regarding the payment of the teacher salaries, so it depends on the budget of the provincial authorities. So they disburse the normally, but sometimes they might delay in some period. But we disburse the salary to teachers on a regular basis. There is no case of non-payment of the salary to the teachers. We periodically disburse the salary to the teachers. There was, because there are some questions, there have some response that need to be provided to the questions cluster 4 regarding the health sector product, regarding the whether you have incorporated productive health in the curriculum or the teaching, and how to reduce the mortality rate, and what about the question about the abortion and other issues that we have not responded yet. Madam Chair, for the health sector, allow me to provide additional comments on the abortion. So I would like to provide comments on the productive, especially productive health or sexual education. So the education and health sector has to work together, and by incorporating these matters in the curriculum of the national curriculum. So we have incorporated the sexuality education into the national curriculum. In terms of the miscarriage or abortion, so the Ministry of Health has a decision on the management of the surrogacy and abortion of 2021. In the sector 4 on the forms and credits of the abortion, here we define Article 12 on the condition to the abortion. Firstly, for the mother first. For the mothers, if the mothers has some health issue or kidney issues or suffers from other disease, so they can be declared to have the abortion. For the fetus, if you found out that the fetus is not abnormal, or receive or is subject of radiations, or in case that the fetus die in the belly, so they can be declared for abortion. In terms of social criteria, in case that the woman is pregnant the result of the rape, or they have more than 4 kids, or they live in a poor family, and if the woman have not reached the majority, so they can be declared to have the abortion. So regarding the questions about the health, productive health, which is linked to the sector of health and education. So the Ministry of Education and Sport also have the plan of the National Action Plan to ensure gender equality that was adopted in 2022. So we also promote the national health production and gender equality, and incorporate in all corporate this plan into the 5-year plan of the education sector, and with the support from United Nations Agency. Additionally, the Ministry of Education and Sport also work together with the INGO, CSO in conducting the inclusive health productive programs among the young adolescents at school, especially the young people who abandoned the study in some provinces of the Lao PDR, especially in Salavan, Udom Sai, and Bokeh provinces. Additionally, in terms of disparity, the sexual disparity for in the enrollment rates, we have in terms of disparity, we also have observed in some secondary upper secondary school. It's about 0.9% in terms of disparity of the enrollment rates at the upper secondary school between girls and boys.
Excellency, I'm aware that you would have perhaps wished for more time, but unfortunately we are coming to the close of our session, and we would have loved to hear more from you, more clarifications. But the fact that so many questions have been raised shows the interest that we've had in our constructive dialogue with you, this being the first time. And we are very delighted that you participated with such with enthusiasm, and very grateful to you for that. I will now move on to the concluding part of our constructive dialogue and request our country rapporteur, Mr. Ashraf Kanhai, to kindly make his concluding remarks. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. We are happy to conclude our fruitful exchanges over the broad range of issues and challenges which confront Lao PDR in the implementation of the economic, social, and cultural rights under the Covenant. The discussions have indeed been most enriching and stimulating. We have been provided with a lot of useful information, and the discussions have also brought to light the many relevant and material factors which are vital for an effective realization and protection of the economic, social, and cultural rights in Lao PDR. The exercise will no doubt be of much assistance to our committee, coming up with fully considered and appropriate recommendations in the concluding observations which would follow. I need to express our deep gratitude and appreciation to the head and members of the distinguished delegation for their active participation and the constructive and positive spirit which prevail throughout the proceedings. I'm also grateful to the civil society organizations and all the other bodies and institutions which provided us with a useful input for the purpose of the present review exercise. My thanks also go to all the members of the committee, the Secretariat, especially Yusuf, also to the interpreters and the technical staff for their invaluable support and wide-ranging contribution. Last but not least, I'm hugely indebted to the other members of the task force, Jiyong, Giuseppe, and Aslan, who left no stone unturned in raising and addressing all the crucial issues necessary for the implementation of the various rights under the covenant in Lao PTR. I would end by wishing the head and members of the distinguished delegation a pleasant and safe return home. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kanhai. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, I request you to now make your closing remarks.
Allow me to use my mother tongue.
So I deliver my opening statement in English. Now I would like to deliver my opening closing statement in Lao. First of all, I would like to express my thanks to the Madam Chair and also the committee members, for giving us the opportunity for my delegation to exchange our views and informations with the committee today. Since we have limited time, some questions were not answered yet, but we took note of the questions we have the committee have raised. We also take note of useful recommendations in order to ensure that we can fulfill our obligations under this covenant at the country level. If you see the composition of my delegation, you can see that we have a representative from women, also a representative from young people, and more than that, are representative of women and children. So this reflects the commitment of the Lao government to promote the rights of women and the youth. So in terms of your comments, insightful comments, refer to the issues of good importance to ensure that we can fulfill our internal obligations under this covenant. Of course, the fulfillment of the internal obligation we need to base on the real context of the Lao PDI as well. The members, the 193 members of the UN, I was have the honor to represent the Lao PDI as the permanent representative of the UN. I learned a lot. I exchanged my experience and views on the many issues of equal importance. And all the countries need to be in mind the specificity and characteristic of the country in implementation of the covenant. No matter is about historical, cultural aspects, and the needs for development which are different from one country to another. So
you.